Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 21, another 7 curious interesting things I saw last week. So let's crack on. First one is the Hair Touch VR accessory. So this allows you to simulate touching hair whilst you're in a virtual experience. Why would you want this? Well, you might be creating or watching a petting VR experience, or you might actually be shopping for virtual goods or real goods using a virtual headset. So for instance, you might be looking for soft furnishings or carpet, or you might be looking to get a new dog, etc. However, what this thing does is it can shorten and raise the bristles or the hairs, so you can simulate sort of plushness. It can also restrict the hairs against the finger, which will give you sort of stiffness and roughness. So that sort of thing. So yeah, so some of their demos are sort of rubbing the tummy of a kitten or choosing cushions. So I thought that was quite interesting. Maybe the future of shopping. So we saw this about 2 months ago, I think it was, when Elon Musk did his Neuralink event, and that showed a monkey who was playing Pong purely using its mind. So it looks like it's using a controller, but it isn't really. That's just a straw giving him a banana smoothie as a reward. But that Pong bat is going up and down just using his mind. So he has 2 neural implants, so 2 brain implants that are listening to the neurons in his brain and listening to the motor cortex, so i.e. the bits that move the limbs. Now, a chap called Nathan Copeland unfortunately suffered a spinal injury in a car crash many years ago, and also has a neural implant as well. So he uses it to play games. He uses it to play Sonic the Hedgehog, that sort of thing. Has his own Twitch channel, all that good stuff. So he thought, well, why not challenge the monkey to a game of Pong? I reckon I've got this. Now, unfortunately, Nathan's a bit of a disadvantage because his neural implant is relatively old compared to the Neuralink implant. It can only listen to 160 motor neurons, whereas the monkey can actually utilize 1,000 motor neurons. So it might be an interesting contest. So watch this space for that one. That's quite interesting. So the Google event, the big I/O event, happened. And one of the most interesting things, there was lots of things they actually went through. I might pick some of those up in the next weeks or so. But one of the interesting ones was some updates to Google Photos. So they used to have this thing called cinematic photos, and it used to sort of just animate the photo a little bit. Now they've taken that one step further by actually taking 2 sequential photographs, and it will automatically try and animate the scene in between those 2 photos. So clearly it's going to get this wrong a few times, but the demos that they have shown looked absolutely amazing. Slightly weird, but also amazing. There were some other features as well which I thought were really interesting and worth calling out as well. So skin tone as well for people of colour is much better. So obviously they've probably done a good job this time. And also there was really interesting features. So sometimes you get memories and it shows you on this day in, and sometimes they have people in them that you don't want to be in them. Maybe there is a family tragedy, or maybe it's just a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever, who you just don't want to see in your memories anymore. So you now have the ability to actually remove those things, which I think is a really interesting one, because yeah, they can actually be quite traumatic if not handled correctly. China has landed a Mars mission and has a rover, so there are now 3 rovers, 2 NASA ones, and now this is the Zhurong, which apparently is something to do with fire. However, it's now beetling around Mars on its own. Now, I would have to say that some of the photos come back. I mean, this is a black and white one. There is a colour one. It is a little bit, let's say, lo-fi compared to NASA. So you don't get the kind of the super cool videos and whatever. It's just lots of still photos. However, they do have a really cool sensor on there, which is much better than NASA's Perseverance rover, which can actually look deeper into the crust for ice. So that's what it's going to be looking for primarily. It's going to do some other things as well, but that's hopefully what it's going to do over and above NASA's mission. It's going to be looking for ice and therefore water potentially underneath the surface, and see what's going on. So there you go. It's been there about a week, probably a week and a bit. I think it landed a week ago last Saturday, and this is a Sunday. So there you go. Well done to China for that. yeah, this is a video I never thought I'd watch, but actually turned out to be bizarrely fascinating. I watched it 3 times because I didn't quite understand it. The third time totally got it, which was useful. So this is the guts of an Apple AirTag, and you can't really hack them. It's all in hardware. It's all in chips, for instance. Now it turns out there's a thing called glitching. Where if you inject a pulse of voltage into a chip, as the chip is starting up, it goes through all of its code. And as it's going through every line of code, it's executing every single line of code. And if you glitch it, if you send in a pulse of electricity just at the right moment, it might skip a line or two as it basically breaks. And then it carries on. Now, if you can find some interesting code, you don't know where it is because you don't know what's in it, but if you glitch it at exactly the right moment, you might skip an important piece of code and it might start to reveal things. So that's what Thomas Roth has done. He's got a really interesting video based on some other work that a lot of other people have done as well, but he used a very inexpensive Raspberry Pi as the timer, essentially, and then just as soon as the thing started up, he just started injecting voltage spikes into the chip. And eventually he found what was pretty much the line that says, don't go into debug mode. So he glitched that, it went into debug mode, and he was able then to dump out the entire code of the Apple AirTag. So why is this interesting and why is this useful? Well, it basically allowed him, because actually they didn't actually lock down the bit that also said stop people from uploading stuff into the AirTag. So he got access to not only the dump of the operating system essentially, but he also got the ability to fiddle with it and upload it again. So he just did a quick demo where if you put your phone next to an AirTag, it would then just pull up the Rick Astley Rick rolling video. So he basically said that he can now actually write whatever he wants to an AirTag. So he's completely hacked it. Really, really interesting. But the main interesting thing was glitching is a thing. How do people figure this stuff out? I have no idea, but it was really, really fascinating. So this is Flawless. This is a UK company, and they are revolutionising or planning to revolutionise dubbing of movies. So what you're seeing in front of you right now, if you were listening to it, all of these characters are speaking, Robert De Niro, for instance, is speaking German there. So what it does is, if you're watching a dubbed movie, usually they're a bit terrible and the lip syncing's off, because obviously it will be because it's dubbed. So what this does is it uses all that deep fake good stuff that we've been looking at for a long time. The voice actor is recorded obviously with their lip movements. It can then look at the lip movements of the characters on the actual movie, and what it then does is it overlays the lip movements, or recreates the lip movements of the voice actor onto the actual actor, so it's far more believable. Yeah, so some people, some actresses who've already seen this, happen to their own characters, have actually given it the nod, say, yeah, actually it's pretty good. Probably they were saying that if you didn't know that it was actually dubbed, then you wouldn't. So maybe movies that are dubbed and not in an original language might need basically warnings at the beginning of them, or at least notices. So yeah, so this might also be able to stop things like costly rewrites, or if there's a pickup line or those sorts of things, you don't have to go and get the line redone. There you go. And finally, bees have been trained to detect COVID, and what you can see here, those little sort of proboscises coming out, coming out as a reward. So what they've managed to do, and I don't know why, I did try and research why, and there was something about, well, this is instant COVID testing. So you got these these poor bees have been given lots and lots of samples of COVID, some negative, some positive, and when they're introduced to a positive one, they're given a sugary drink as a treat. So there you go. So next time they see a positive sample and they think, oh, okay, I'm going to stick out my tongue because I'm going to get a treat. So that's what you do. You give a positive sample and it sticks out his proboscis. So I was thinking, this reminds me of a couple of years ago, I think 2015, I think it was, University of Iowa had trained pigeons to detect cancer. And they did what they called flock sourcing rather than crowdsourcing. It turns out that if you showed pigeons plates of sort of cancer cells, they could identify them accurately within 99%. It's because their vision, obviously, when they're navigating and they're flying over certain areas, are just built differently to ours. So even better than computers and better than trained doctors and researchers. So there you go. So yeah, bees, not quite sure why, but this is Insect Sense from the Netherlands. and that's our final one for this week. A bit weird. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you next week.